I mean, it's probably a better plan than what David Tepper has in Carolina, that's for sure.
Yikes.
Because, man, he had a fun little press conference yesterday following the firing of Frank Reich, which we talked about on the show yesterday as well, too. And, well, I mean, listen, he explained, look, they were falling short in all aspects. That's why they needed to move on from Frank Reich. But he also was asked about some reports that Frank Reich actually wanted C.J. Stroud with the number 1 pick, and David Tepper responded to that and explained just what the process was like in deciding on their young quarterback, Bryce Young, no pun intended, over C.J. Stroud. Let's take a listen.
Originally, we were going to go with the number 2 pick, and we thought we would get C.J. because we thought the Texans were going to pick Bryce. And listen, we preferred Bryce. He was our number 1 pick. We had a lot of conviction. But in answer to your questions, it's just not the way the process was done. The process was done the way the process was done. And again, even though if there was a process with 5 people in the room and the way the votes came in, Frank was the first choice, I always could veto that choice. And even if it was Bryce and the votes came in unanimously in this particular case, I could have vetoed that choice. I'm just going to say that I supported both choices. I supported the coaches. I supported the scouts, their unanimous opinion, and I supported Frank Reich. So whatever's good, bad, or indifferent is ultimately because the buck stops here, and I take full responsibility for everything. But that's the way the process runs. As far as Bryce Young is concerned, we are totally confident in that pick. Okay, I think the people that made that pick first, would be totally confident in that. And for me, I'm totally confident in agreeing with that pick.
Well, I'm not
He
totally
is so unrelatable.
I'm not totally confident in the Carolina Panthers after hearing that.
Wait, so hold on. Let's start with LaVar. Why do you say that?
I mean, because you heard it too. He's just unrelatable. I mean, I'm listening to him, and my ears are bleeding. Like they just started to bleed. Like patch him up. I don't want to hear it. It sounds disingenuous. It sounds pompous. It sounds arrogant. It sounds dismissive. And it almost has a sense of air. Like maybe Billions has got me messed up, man. Because I'm listening to him, and he sounds like Prince. He sounds like he sounds like Prince. And I'm just sitting here listening, and it's like, you're so disingenuous, dude. Like, I have the right to veto. Like, bro, we know you're the owner. You're the owner.
Yeah.
We all know what you have the power to do.
Keep your pants on. We don't have to see everything. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Go ahead. You take it. Let it go.
I would handle this very similar to if I was an attorney. If I was an attorney, I would handle it probably in this manner. One of the first things you do when, I guess if, it depends on which side you're on. But if you're deposing someone or you got someone on the stand, what you're trying to do is take away their credibility if they're working against you. So in this instance, I think how you take away David Tepper's credibility is, why should we believe anything he has to say? He just fired the past 2 head coaches, and he probably said a lot of things that he said he meant back then to Matt Rule, who didn't even make it 3 full years, and to Frank Reich, he didn't even make it a full year. So, let's just start there. Why would we take anything he says about the process with any truth whatsoever? And on top of that, what else is he going to say in regards to the decision? Whether it actually was Bryce Young or not, it's not like David Tepper owes us to be honest, and it's not like he's going to be honest if it was C.J. Stroud, because how's that going to look? Hey, we just fired our head coach, but the reality is we actually wanted the other guy. But, our former head coach wanted this guy. That's why, it's a whole mess right now. Let me be honest with you guys. I mean, it's like, what are you going to say? So I sit back and just think, yeah, we could play the sound. There's not going to be any validity to it because only the people who are in that room truly know how it went and who was in on it. I go back to, do you remember last year when the pro days were happening? Do you remember there was some sound when Josh McCown had said something to C.J. Stroud we're going to this or we're going to that, and it sounded like Josh McCown really wanted to go with him.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
And the betting odds swung
They swung huge, and that was like somewhere in the ballpark of the combine, all that, right?
Yeah.
And then it took until like almost right before the draft where they swung back the other way. That was an eye-opener for me thinking, I wonder if there's a disconnect here between the front office and the coaching staff, between the coaching staff and the owner, between the owner and everyone else. I mean, this is the first time. Happened in Washington when the now Commanders drafted RG3, which seemed like it was the owner's pick. Shanahan's apparently wanted Kirk Cousins, which happened to got drafted the same year. Like, you can go on down the line on some different scenarios. Usually this stuff, ends up working itself out, but I don't know. In this case, man, it's just, I don't know why you'd believe anything David Tepper would say.
The biggest mistake they made was including DJ Moore in this trade. That's the biggest mistake they made. Guy's got 70 catches and over 1,000 yards in not exactly the most fluid offense in the NFL, where you've had a starting quarterback get injured. He was catching passes from Tyson Bagent for a handful of games. You mean to tell me that if you were to pull Frank Reich aside and said, hey, Frank, if you could do it all over again, would you have preferred to keep DJ Moore and maybe include another draft pick? The answer would be yes. They don't have anything around Bryce Young. And I think that was the biggest whiff of all this, is that they included a legitimate Pro Bowl weapon that would have been a really nice compliment to a young quarterback who needs all the help he can get. And instead, they added that piece in.
That sounds great, but you could have just added another receiver to it that caliber. I mean, let's be honest. You could have done it before the trade deadline. You could have done it in free agency. I mean, they signed a bunch of guys too. So, like, I know what you're saying. It sounds good. But, like, they could have replaced even DJ Moore with finding someone similar to DJ Moore. So I don't know. I mean, that wasn't the biggest mistake that they made in all this. I mean, it was a mistake, or part of it, because they didn't replace him with someone who was his caliber. Like, yes, you brought in Thielen. Thielen's been great for them.
Yeah.
But they didn't replace him with someone who could be a number one, who could, threaten the field deep and all that, which they could have went out and looked for other guys, other players.
It's a mess, man. I feel bad for Bryce Young. Like, I come away less confident that he's going to have a real opportunity there to succeed based on whatever the hell you call that yesterday, and just the Frank Reich's got to go, the buck stops here, so on and so forth. And I just wonder, is this, and we were talking about it yesterday, of course somebody's going to take the job, but I mean, how attractive is this of a job now, to where if you're a coach and you've got options out there, it's like, man, do I really want to go somewhere where this guy's this impulsive? Like that, I'm going to have to deal
options,
with
this? You're definitely going to weigh out the options.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way. I'd still going to take it. I mean, can I throw my name out there to put my name in the hat in the ring?
Oh, can I go?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Frank,
we'll get you out there. You won't be a coach, but you'll be in there somewhere.
That's fine.
LaVar will be calling the defense. It'll be great.
Oh, geez.
That's fine.
And we'll be back on radio before you know it. Just hold our spot, Scott.
Hey, here, at least we'll get a nice payout. It's like,
do you think Ben Johnson should take this job if offered?
I mean, look, it all comes down to money, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, LaVar, if he offered you $15 million or more per year, it's going to be hard for you to be like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that.
Especially if you may not have that opportunity somewhere else. It just comes down, like you said, Jonas. If you have options, then you weigh out the opportunities that are presented to you through those options. If you really want to be a head coach, chances are you're going to have to take over a team that isn't good. You know why you're going to take over a team that isn't good? Because the team that isn't good just fired their coach, and now there's a coaching vacancy. You're not going to generally have a great opportunity to take over as a coach in the National Football League of a really, really fine team. That's just a Mike Tomlin. That's timing. That's timing. You get to take over the Steelers after Bill Cowher. You didn't get rid of Bill Cowher because Bill Cowher couldn't coach and this was a horrible team. You got Bill, it was time. It was a transitional time. So when you take over a really, really good franchise, that's going to be so far and few in between. And so to me, if you're getting the opportunity to take over a team as a head coach, yes, you entertain it. And if you get the opportunity to take it, I would assume more guys than not would take the opportunity, even though you only get a limited amount of times to mess up being a head coach in the National Football League.